In stark contrast to 3 Iron, though, also in second place, but much more hard-hitting and potentially traumatising, is Beautiful, the first Korean film that I ever saw in my life, almost entirely by accident back in 2009, written by Ki-Duk himself and directed by one of his former assistant directors, who learned well how to recreate his mesmerising and deeply haunting visual style. The tragic story of a beautiful woman admired and desired by everyone who, in the aftermath of being raped by a young man who was enraged by the fact that he couldn't possess her, blames herself and her own beauty, embarking upon an ever-decreasing downward spiral of hatred, guilt and self-destruction. As an exploration of the objectification of women and the need to possess and control beauty in our society, as well as an unflinching dramatisation of the psychological trauma which many rape victims endure, Beautiful is, as far as I'm aware, an unrivalled and unequalled masterpiece, as long as we bear in mind that the characters are representations and projections, as I have explained in previous videos in this series, and therefore don't expect the woman in particular to behave just as an actual rape survivor would in real life. Instead, understanding that similar to the protagonist in the movie Time, which I listed at number 6 in this top 10, her character is an exploration and condemnation of our society's ideals of beauty. For example, struggling to make herself obese and then starving herself in the vain attempt to make herself ugly and thus free herself from the curse, as she then sees it, of being desired by men. That similarly, the men in this film are also personifications of the worst aspects of our society and our gender in particular, with even the male protagonist, a cop who tries to help her in the aftermath of her rape, becoming increasingly infatuated and turning into an archetypal stalker, thus challenging and even condemning our knight in shining armour ideals of noble chivalry and romantic love by at least suggesting that his motives are entirely selfish, that no different from the rapist or the men who leer at and grope her throughout the movie, his only desire is to possess and manipulate this object of beauty, corrupting every action that he takes, which may otherwise appear to be heroic, loving or kind. Needless to say, of course, just as is the case with most of the other movies on this list, I have grudgingly come to accept over the course of the last 6.5 years or so that most people will never have the will, the capacity or the emotional fortitude to fully understand or appreciate this film. However, even to this very day, I genuinely wish that everyone did, because if that were the case, then it would also mean that we would have the will, the capacity and the emotional fortitude to be able to tackle the endemic problem of rape in our society, as well as the other issues raised by this movie. But if you're able to not only stomach this film, but to genuinely engage with it, perhaps through multiple viewings, thus ensuring that you are looking beyond your own knee-jerk emotional reactions, then no different from Bad Guy, which I listed at number 7, although you will not enjoy it in the slightest, if you take the time to examine and question everything in Beautiful, particularly your own assumptions, then you will be a better person for having experienced this masterpiece and never perceive these issues in the same way ever again.